This is our last evening. You just don't know how final it is.
Dean Carter's phone buzzed at 3:47 p.m. on a Tuesday that would split his life in half. The security app notification showed his daughter Tiffany's car in the driveway, home early from college again. But it was the laughter drifting through his kitchen window that made him park behind the neighbor's fence instead of pulling into his own garage. "Mom, you're 45. Not dead," Tiffany's voice carried across the yard. "When's the last time you tried a different size?" Dean's hand froze on the truck door handle. "Tiffany!" Jessica's shocked giggle followed. "That's inappropriate." "Is it? Dad's been the same boring flavor for what, 23 years? You deserve variety? Different sizes, different experiences? Life's too short to stick with one, Johnson?" The words hit Dean like a sledgehammer to the chest. His daughter, his little girl who used to braid his hair and call him Superman, was coaching his wife on infidelity using Johnson jokes. "I couldn't," Jessica said, but her tone had shifted. "Curious, considering. Mom, you literally have one life. One. You're wasting it on routine missionary with Dad when there's a whole world of bigger options out there." Dean's vision tunneled. 23 years of marriage, 22 years raising Tiffany as his own after her biological father split, 60-hour work weeks building Carter Construction from a pickup truck and a toolbox into a company employing 37 people. Also, his girls could have everything they wanted, and now his daughter was pimping his wife. "What if he finds out?" Jessica whispered. "So don't tell him. Or, better yet, suggest an open marriage. Make it sound progressive, like couples therapy. Men are stupid, Mom. They'll agree to anything if you frame it right." Dean's phone buzzed again. This time it was Travis Blake's number, his youngest foreman, calling in sick for the third time this month. The pieces clicked together like a blueprint snapping into place. He drove 3 blocks to Mel's Diner, ordered black coffee, and called his lawyer. "Paul, it's Dean Carter. I need to see you tonight. Emergency consultation." "What's wrong? Job site accident?" "My marriage just became a demolition project." By 7 p.m., Dean sat across from Paul Morrison in the lawyer's downtown office, manila folders spread between them like evidence at a crime scene. "How certain are you about the affair?" Paul asked, adjusting his glasses. "My daughter just gave my wife a master class in cheating, and my foreman's been mysteriously sick every time I leave town for supply runs." Paul nodded grimly. "Indiana's a no-fault divorce state, but adultery affects asset division if you can prove financial misconduct. We'll need evidence." "I'll get it." "Dean, listen carefully. Don't do anything stupid. Don't confront them. Don't make threats. Document everything, but keep your hands clean." Dean stood, shaking Paul's hand. "I built my company from nothing using planning and patience. This won't be any different." But Paul Morrison didn't know about Dean's other education, the one he'd gotten in boxing gyms and back alley fights before Jessica made him promise to go legitimate. Some lessons you never forget. Wednesday morning, Dean kissed Jessica goodbye like he had for 8,000 days, tasting lies on her lips. "Supply run to Louisville," he said. "Back Thursday night." "Drive safe," she replied, already reaching for her phone before his truck left the driveway. Instead of driving south, Dean went to Best Buy. Cash purchase, micro cameras, audio recorders, GPS trackers, then to his old friend Benji's auto shop. "Need some tech work on the house," Dean told Benji, who'd been his sparring partner back when they thought they'd make it as professional fighters. "Legal tech work. The kind where my wife doesn't get half my assets." Benji grinned. "Now we're talking." They installed pinhole cameras in the bedroom, living room, and kitchen, audio pickups in Jessica's car, GPS tracker on Travis's Silverado. The whole operation took 3 hours and cost less than one of Jessica's shopping trips. Dean checked into a Holiday Inn 12 miles away and settled in to watch his life implode in real time. The first video call came at 2:17 p.m., Travis's truck in Dean's driveway. The audio was crystal clear. "He's gone until tomorrow night," Jessica purred into her phone. "Tiffany's at class until 6. On my way, beautiful." Dean watched his wife smooth her hair in the hallway mirror, checking her reflection like she was preparing for a job interview instead of adultery. When Travis knocked, she answered wearing lingerie Dean hadn't seen since their honeymoon. "You look incredible," Travis said, pulling her close. "Tiffany says I need to start living for myself." "Smart girl. Your husband doesn't appreciate what he has." They were in Dean's bedroom within minutes. The camera angles captured everything. Faces, positions, the wedding photo on the nightstand knocked over during their enthusiasm. Jessica gave him a warning look, but Travis perked up. "That's the initial investment, yes. For equipment, permits, marketing." "What's your timeline?" Happy's good, Dean said, proud of how steady his voice sounded. She's talking about exploring options and not settling for routine. I think I gave her some confidence about trying new things. What kind of new things? You know, variety in all aspects of life. Tiffany giggled. She deserves better than the same old, same old. Dean stared at his reflection in the bar mirror. Gray stubble, crow's feet, hands scarred from 30 years of honest work. Same old, same old. I'm proud of you for encouraging your mother, he said. Really? Really. She should have everything she wants. After hanging up, Dean ordered another drink and started planning. In construction, you survey the site before you build. In boxing, you study your opponent before you fight. In revenge, you learn everything before you strike. His phone buzzed with a text from Jessica. Miss you. Can't wait until you're home. Dean typed back, Miss you too. Love you. The bartender refilled his glass without being asked. Thursday evening, Dean returned home with flowers and a smile that felt like wearing a Halloween mask. How was Louisville? Jessica asked, accepting the roses with what looked like genuine happiness. Productive. Got everything I needed. That night, they made love for the first time in months. Jessica was enthusiastic, creative, using techniques she'd definitely learned from someone else. Dean matched her energy, whispering how much he'd missed her, how beautiful she looked, how lucky he was. Afterward, she curled against his chest like the old days. Dean, can we talk about something? Anything. I've been thinking about us, about how we might expand our experiences. Dean's heart hammered, but he kept his breathing steady. What do you mean? Some couples try opening up, exploring. It might make us stronger, like seeing other people, not instead of each other, in addition to, with full honesty and communication. Dean was quiet for 30 seconds. That's a big change. I know, but we're both still young enough to experience more life. Don't you ever wonder what else is out there? Sometimes, he lied. But I worry about jealousy, about losing what we have. We won't lose anything, we'll just add to it. Dean kissed her forehead. I need time to think about this. Of course, take all the time you need. Within an hour, Jessica was asleep. Dean slipped downstairs and reviewed the day's surveillance footage. 2 hours after he'd left for work, Travis had come over. They'd used Dean's shower afterward, eaten Dean's food, drunk Dean's beer. In the kitchen video, Travis had slapped Jessica's A and said, Your husband's an idiot if he doesn't see what a prize you are. He's not an idiot, Jessica had protested mildly. He's just comfortable. Comfortable men finish last, baby. You need someone who appreciates your fire. Dean made coffee and watched until dawn, taking notes. Times, dates, positions, conversations, building his case like he'd built his business, one foundation block at a time. Friday morning brought rain and Travis calling in sick again. Food poisoning, Travis croaked into the phone. That's rough, Dean said. Take care of yourself. Company can't afford to lose good men. Thanks, boss. I'll be back Monday. I'm sure you will. After hanging up, Dean called the job site supervisor. Travis is sick. Send Murphy to finish the Henderson job. Then he drove to Travis's apartment complex and waited. Sure enough, at 11:30, Travis emerged looking perfectly healthy, heading for his truck. Dean followed at a distance as Travis drove to Home Depot, then to a residential address on Maple Street. Dean parked across the street and watched Travis unload Dean's company supplies and carry them into a house under construction. A side job using company materials. Theft. Dean photographed everything, then called the customer whose supplies Travis was stealing. Mrs. Henderson, this is Dean Carter from Carter Construction. We had a delivery issue this morning. Could you confirm your address for me? The address was nowhere near Maple Street. Dean now had Travis for theft, Jessica for adultery, and both for conspiracy to defraud him emotionally and financially. But he wasn't done surveying the job site. That evening, Jessica broached the open marriage topic again over dinner. Have you thought about what we discussed? I have, and I think maybe you're right. Jessica nearly choked on her wine. Really? We're both adults. We've been faithful for over 20 years. Maybe some exploration would be good for us. I'm so glad you're open to this. Jessica reached across the table and squeezed his hand. I was worried you'd be angry or jealous. I might be at first, but I trust you to be honest with me. Complete honesty, I promise. Same here. If either of us develops feelings for someone else, we communicate immediately. Absolutely. Dean refilled their wine glasses. So, do you have anyone in mind? Jessica blushed. There is someone I find attractive, but I haven't done anything about it. Who? Travis, from your company. Dean nodded slowly. He's a good-looking guy, young, strong. I hope that doesn't bother you. It's natural to be attracted to youth and energy. As long as you're safe and honest, I support whatever makes you happy. Jessica leaned over and kissed him. I love you so much. This is going to make us stronger. I'm sure it will. That night, Dean lay awake listening to his wife sleep, planning her destruction with the methodical patience that had made him successful. She wanted to play games? He'd teach her the rules. Saturday morning, Dean visited his bank and opened a new business account under Carter Holdings LLC, transferring the construction company's assets with Benji as co-owner. Legal, clean, and completely removing Jessica's claim to the business in a divorce. Then, he went shopping. Not at Home Depot or Lowe's, where contractors bought supplies. He went to the spy shop across town and purchased professional-grade recording equipment, signal jammers, and GPS trackers with real-time monitoring. His phone rang as he loaded the equipment into his truck. Dad? Tiffany's voice was excited. Mom told me about your conversation. I'm so proud of you both for being progressive. Your mother deserves to explore her options. Exactly. Monogamy is such an outdated concept. You're being incredibly mature about this. I learned a long time ago that you can't control other people. You can only control your reaction to them. That's so wise. Mom's going to have the best time, and who knows, maybe you'll find someone too. Dean smiled grimly. Maybe I will. After hanging up, he drove to Travis's apartment and planted GPS trackers on both his truck and his motorcycle. Then he went home and installed the new recording equipment throughout the house, upgrading his surveillance network to professional standards. By evening, he had real-time audio and video coverage of every room, plus GPS tracking on both Jessica's car and Travis's vehicles. He was ready for the next phase. Sunday dinner was at Jessica's mother's house, a weekly tradition that Dean usually enjoyed. Tonight, it felt like a war council. You look radiant, Jessica, her mother said. Marriage must be agreeing with you. Things are really good, Mom. Dean and I are exploring new opportunities. Tiffany smirked. Mom's finally living her best life. What kind of opportunities? Asked Jessica's sister Linda, always the busybody. Just personal growth? Jessica replied vaguely. Dean's being very supportive, Tiffany added. He's not one of those possessive, insecure husbands. Linda studied Dean suspiciously. You're okay with your wife having personal growth? I want Jessica to be happy, Dean said simply. If that means exploring new experiences, I support her. How modern of you, Linda said, not hiding her skepticism. Later, as they walked to their cars, Linda pulled Dean aside. What's really going on? Jessica's acting weird, and you're being too calm about whatever she's up to. Dean looked at his sister-in-law. 15 years of family barbecues and Christmas mornings, someone he genuinely cared about. Sometimes people change, Linda. Sometimes they show you who they really are. That doesn't sound like the Dean I know. Maybe you don't know me as well as you think. Linda studied his face in the parking lot lights. Are you okay? I'm perfect, Dean said, and meant it. For the first time in months, he knew exactly where he stood and what he was going to do about it. Monday morning, Travis returned to work looking refreshed and energetic. Feeling better? Dean asked. Much. Thanks for being understanding, boss. No problem. We all get sick sometimes. Dean assigned Travis to the Henderson job, the one whose supplies Travis had stolen Friday. He wanted to see how the kid would handle the shortage he'd created. At lunch, Dean's surveillance app pinged. Jessica was at Travis's apartment. He switched to the live video feed and watched his wife of 23 years undress in another man's bedroom while telling him how much she'd missed him over the weekend. Your husband suspect anything? Travis asked afterward. The opposite. He's actually encouraging this. He wants me to be happy. Seriously? He's being incredibly mature about the whole thing. Said he trusts me to be honest. Travis laughed. And are you being honest? I told him I'm attracted to you and want to explore it. What did he say? That he supports whatever makes me happy. Holy crap, your husband's either a saint or an idiot. He's just evolved, not possessive like other men. Dean closed the app and drove back to the job site. Travis was arguing with Murphy about the supply shortage. Someone must have miscounted the delivery, Travis was saying. I counted it myself, Murphy replied. We're short 2 boxes of tiles and a gallon of primer. Crap happens, Travis shrugged. Dean approached them. Problem? Supply shortage, Murphy explained. We need another Home Depot run. Travis, you handle it. Take the company card. Travis looked uncomfortable. Actually, I'm not feeling great again. Maybe Murphy should go. You seemed fine this morning. Fresh air might help. Take the truck. Travis had no choice but to agree. Dean watched him drive away, knowing he was trapped. He couldn't buy supplies to replace what he'd stolen without raising questions about why he needed them. At 3 p.m., Travis called in a panic. Boss, there's a problem with the company card. It got declined. That's impossible. I'll call the bank. Dean made a show of calling the bank while Travis waited on hold, then called back. System glitch. They're fixing it now. Just get what we need, and I'll reimburse you personally. I don't have $300 on me. Then I guess the Henderson job stops until tomorrow. Customer won't be happy. Travis was trapped. He couldn't admit he'd already stolen the supplies, couldn't explain why he was broke after supposedly working side jobs, and couldn't let the project stall without looking incompetent. I'll figure something out, he finally said. Dean smiled. I know you will. You're resourceful. That evening, Jessica came home glowing. Good day? Dean asked. Wonderful. I spent some time with Travis. How was it? Amazing. He's so different from routine. More passionate. I'm glad you're happy. Are you sure? You seem a little distant. Dean pulled her into his arms. I'm processing. It's a big change, but I love seeing you excited about life again. They made dinner together, chatting about everything except the elephant in the room. Jessica mentioned that Tiffany was coming home for the weekend. She wants to meet Travis, Jessica said carefully. That makes sense. If he's going to be part of your life, family should know him. You'd be okay with that? As long as you're happy, I'm happy. That night, after Jessica fell asleep, Dean reviewed the day's surveillance footage. During their afternoon encounter, Travis had mentioned needing money. This side business isn't paying off like I hoped, he'd told Jessica. What kind of side business? Construction stuff, but I'm having cash flow problems. Maybe I could help. We have savings. I couldn't take your money. It's not just mine. Dean makes good money. Travis had gotten quiet, thoughtful. How much access do you have to your accounts? Joint checking and savings, why? Just curious about your financial situation, in case things get serious between us. Dean rewound and watched again. Travis wasn't just stealing his wife and his company supplies. He was planning to steal his money too. The kid was greedier than Dean had thought, which made him more dangerous but also more vulnerable. Tuesday morning brought a surprise. Tiffany called while Dean was reviewing surveillance footage. Dad, can I talk to you about something personal? Sure. It's about Mom and her exploration. I'm worried she's moving too fast. Dean paused the video. What do you mean? She's talking about this guy Travis like he's the love of her life. She's only known him a few weeks. Your mother's an adult. She can make her own choices. I know, but she's talking about lending him money. A lot of money. Dean felt a cold jolt run through him. How much? $20,000 for his business. Dad, I encouraged her to have fun, not to become someone's ATM. I appreciate you telling me. Are you going to talk to her? I'll handle it. After hanging up, Dean called his bank and placed a freeze on all joint accounts pending suspicious activity investigation. Then he called Paul Morrison. They're planning to steal from me, he told his lawyer. Can you prove it? I will tonight. Dean came home Tuesday evening with Chinese takeout and a bottle of wine. Celebrating something? Jessica asked. Us. This new chapter in our lives. Over dinner, Dean steered the conversation toward Travis. How serious is this getting? I don't know yet. He's different from anyone I've ever been with. Different how? He sees me as a woman, not just a wife and mother. He makes me feel young again. That's important. He's starting a business. Asked if I might be interested in investing. Dean refilled their wine glasses. What kind of business? Construction. Like yours, but residential renovation. He has experience and contacts. Sounds promising. How much would you invest? We haven't decided. Maybe $20,000 to start. Dean nodded slowly. That's a significant amount. You'd want to see a business plan, financial projections. Of course. I'm not stupid. I know you're not. But mixing business with romance can be complicated. You think I shouldn't do it? I think you should be careful. Make sure his intentions are honest. Jessica reached across the table and took his hand. I love how protective you are. Even now, not possessive, just caring. I'll always care about you, no matter what happens between us. That night, after Jessica was asleep, Dean reviewed the surveillance footage from Travis's apartment. The audio quality was perfect. "She's ready to invest," Jessica had told Travis during their afternoon session. "How much?" 20,000, maybe more if the business takes off. "This is perfect. We can use her money to get started, then expand from there." "What about Dean?" "What about him? You said he's okay with all this." "He is, but he suggested I ask for a business plan." Travis had laughed. "I'll put something together. Nothing too detailed. Just enough to convince her." "You're not going to take advantage of me, are you?" "Baby, I'm going to take care of you better than your husband ever has." Dean saved the recording and went to bed. Tomorrow, he'd start building the trap that would destroy them both. Wednesday morning, Dean called in sick and drove to downtown Indianapolis. His first stop was a private investigator's office. "I need deep background checks on 2 people," he told the investigator, handing over Travis's information and his daughter's best friend Nancy's contact details. "How deep?" "Criminal history, credit reports, employment records, social media analysis, everything." His second stop was a meeting with his accountant. "I need to restructure my assets," Dean explained. "Business incorporation, offshore accounts, divorce protection. How urgent is this?" "Very. I also need documentation of any suspicious financial activity on my joint accounts." By evening, Dean had established a paper trail showing Jessica's attempts to access unusual amounts of cash, Travis's history of job hopping and minor theft charges, and a new corporate structure that protected his assets from any divorce settlement. When he got home, Jessica was cooking dinner and humming to herself. "You look happy," he said. "I am. Travis is putting together a business proposal for me to review." "When will you see it?" "This weekend. He's coming to dinner Sunday. I hope that's okay." Dean kissed her cheek. "I look forward to meeting him properly." "You're amazing, you know that? Most husbands would be insane with jealousy." "I'm not most husbands." "No, you're not. You're special." Dean went to his workshop and opened his old boxing equipment bag. The gloves still fit perfectly. Thursday brought the private investigator's preliminary report. Travis Blake had been fired from 3 construction jobs for theft, had outstanding debts totaling $37,000, and was currently being sued by 2 former business partners. Nancy Miller, Tiffany's best friend, had interesting social media activity. Posts about helping friends make better choices and loyalty versus honesty suggested she knew more about the situation than she was letting on. Dean called Nancy directly. "This is Dean Carter, Tiffany's father. Could I speak with you privately? Is Tiffany okay?" "She's fine, but I need to discuss something sensitive about my family situation." They met at a coffee shop near Nancy's campus apartment. She was nervous, fidgeting with her phone. "What's this about, Mr. Carter?" "I think you know." Nancy stared into her latte. "I told Tiffany this was a bad idea." "What was a bad idea?" "Encouraging your wife to explore. Tiffany thought it would make your mom happy, but I said it would just cause problems." "What kind of problems?" Nancy looked up, her eyes filled with concern. "Mr. Carter, I think they're planning to take money from you. I overheard Travis talking to some guy about the long game and setting up the husband." Dean's expression remained neutral. "Tell me exactly what you heard." "Travis was on the phone at a party last weekend. He said something about your wife being the perfect mark and that once he had access to her accounts, he could drain the old man completely before disappearing." "Did you tell Tiffany about this?" "I tried, but she thinks I'm being paranoid. She says Travis really cares about your wife." Dean reached into his jacket and pulled out an envelope containing $500 cash. "Nancy, I need you to do something for me. Can I trust you to keep this conversation private?" She stared at the money. "What do you want me to do?" "I want you to record any conversations you have with Tiffany or Travis about my family. Anything at all. Can you do that?" Nancy took the envelope. "Are you going to hurt them?" "I'm going to protect myself and my assets. That's all. Tiffany's my best friend. I don't want her to get in trouble. Tiffany's an adult who made adult choices. She encouraged my wife to commit adultery and fraud. The consequences are on her." Nancy nodded slowly. "I'll help you." Dean stood to leave, then turned back. "Nancy, when this is over, Tiffany's going to need a real friend, someone honest. Be that person for her." Friday evening, Jessica announced that Tiffany would be joining them for Sunday dinner with Travis. "She's excited to meet him," Jessica said. "I'm sure she is." "Dean, can I ask you something personal?" "Of course." Have you thought about exploring too, finding someone for yourself? Dean considered the question. Would that bother you? I think it would be fair. Equal opportunity exploration. There is someone I've been thinking about. Jessica's eyes lit up with curiosity. Really? Who? Linda. Jessica nearly dropped her wine glass. My sister Linda? She's attractive, intelligent, and we have a connection. She's also recently divorced. Dean, I don't know how I feel about that. Why not? You're sleeping with my employee. Isn't your sister fair game? Jessica was quiet for a long moment. That's different. How? Linda's family. Travis is just business. Dean smiled coldly. So there are rules to this open marriage. You can sleep with people I work with, but I can't sleep with your family? It's not about rules. It's about appropriateness. I see. So you want me to be supportive of your choices, but you get veto power over mine. No, that's not. I just need time to think about it. Take all the time you need. But remember, you opened this door. That night, Dean didn't bother reviewing surveillance footage. He spent the evening in his workshop, preparing for Sunday's dinner party. Saturday morning, Dean drove to Benji's auto shop for a different kind of preparation. You remember how to throw a punch? Benji asked, lacing up sparring gloves. Some things you never forget. They spent 2 hours in Benji's private gym, working combinations on heavy bags and practicing footwork. Dean's muscle memory came back quickly. Your form's still solid, Benji said. But your timing's off. You're telegraphing your punches. I'm out of practice. What's this really about, Dean? You planning to fight this Travis kid? Dean unwrapped his hands slowly. I'm planning to be ready for whatever happens. You could just divorce your wife and fire the kid. Why complicate things? Because they didn't just betray me. They conspired to rob me. They involved my daughter in destroying our family. This isn't about a marriage ending. It's about justice. Benji nodded grimly. When do you need me? Monday morning. Bring your truck and your camera. What are we doing? Construction work. Sunday arrived with unseasonable warmth and crystal clear skies. Perfect weather for a family barbecue and the complete destruction of Dean's old life. Travis arrived at 4 p.m. wearing khakis and a button-down shirt, carrying flowers for Jessica and a bottle of wine for Dean. He looked nervous but confident, like a man who believed he was winning a game he didn't fully understand. Mr. Carter, he said, extending his hand. Thanks for having me. Dean shook firmly. Call me Dean. Any friend of Jessica's is welcome here. Tiffany arrived minutes later, practically bouncing with excitement to meet her mother's lover. She hugged Travis like they were old friends. Mom's told me so much about you, she gushed. All good things, I hope, Travis replied, grinning. The best things? Dean fired up the grill while Jessica bustled around the kitchen, playing hostess to her husband and her lover simultaneously. The surreal normalcy of it all would have been funny if it weren't so pathetic. So, Travis, Dean said, flipping burgers, Jessica tells me you're starting your own business. That's right, residential renovation. There's a real market for custom work. Absolutely, I've thought about expanding into that sector myself. Travis looked uncomfortable. Oh, I didn't realize you were interested in residential. I'm interested in profitable ventures. Tell me about your business plan. It's still in development, but I have experience, contacts, and now potential investment capital. Dean glanced meaningfully at Jessica. Investment capital is important. You need enough runway to survive the first year. Jessica's been incredibly supportive. She's a generous woman, sometimes too generous. The comment hung in the air like smoke. Travis shifted his weight, sensing subtext he couldn't quite decode. Tiffany broke the tension. Dad, show Travis your workshop. You guys have so much in common. Dean smiled. Great idea. Travis, want to see where I started the company? They walked to the detached garage that Dean had converted into a workspace 20 years ago. Tools lined the walls in precise order. A workbench held his current project, a jewelry box he'd been making for Jessica's Christmas present. Nice setup, Travis said, genuinely impressed. You've got professional-grade equipment. Quality tools make quality work. What tools do you own? Travis looked around uncomfortably. I'm still building my collection. Startup costs, you know? Of course. It takes years to acquire everything you need. Dean picked up a hand plane, testing its sharpness against a wood scrap. Tell me about your previous businesses. Previous businesses? Jessica mentioned this isn't your first venture, Travis stammered. I had a partnership that didn't work out. What happened? creative differences. Dean nodded sympathetically. Business partnerships are tricky, especially when money gets involved. People show their true colors when significant cash is on the line. Yeah, exactly. That's why I'm careful about who I trust with my assets. One bad partner can destroy everything you've built. Travis was sweating now, despite the cool garage temperature. Jessica said you were supportive of our friendship. Dean set down the plane and turned to face Travis directly. I support my wife's happiness, but I protect my family's security. Those aren't contradictory positions. I'm not sure I understand. You will. They walked back to the house, where Jessica was setting the patio table and Tiffany was opening wine. The domestic scene looked perfect from a distance. A happy family enjoying Sunday dinner with a friend. Only Dean could see the rot underneath. Dinner conversation was surprisingly pleasant. Travis told stories about construction mishaps, Jessica shared gossip from her book club, and Tiffany dominated discussion with college drama. Dean played the role of supportive husband and father, asking interested questions and laughing at appropriate moments. But he was also studying Travis, watching how he interacted with Jessica, possessive glances, territorial body language, how he spoke about money, careful, probing questions about the family's financial situation, and how he treated Tiffany, dismissive, slightly condescending, like she was a useful idiot who'd served her purpose. Travis, Dean said during a lull in conversation, Jessica mentioned you need $20,000 for your business launch. Jessica shot him a warning look, but Travis perked up. That's the initial investment, yes, for equipment, permits, marketing. What's your timeline? I'd like to get started within the month. Smart. Strike while the iron's hot. Dean refilled Travis's wine glass. Do you have other investors, or is Jessica your primary funding source? Jessica's investment would give her a significant ownership stake. I want her to be a real partner, not just a silent backer. Tiffany clapped her hands. That's so romantic. Mom, you could be a business owner. It's exciting, Jessica agreed, but she was watching Dean carefully. Partnership agreements can be complex, Dean said mildly. You'll want a lawyer to structure everything properly. Liability protection, profit sharing, exit clauses. Travis looked puzzled. Exit clauses? What happens if the partnership doesn't work out? Who gets what? How assets are divided? Standard business planning. I hadn't thought that far ahead. Always think about the ending when you start something new, whether it's a business or a relationship. Jessica stood abruptly. I'll get dessert. Dean followed her to the kitchen, leaving Travis and Tiffany on the patio. What are you doing? Jessica whispered angrily. Making conversation. You're interrogating him. I'm asking the questions any intelligent investor would ask. You're about to give him $20,000 of our money. It's not our money for this. It's my decision. Dean smiled coldly. Actually, it is our money. Joint assets, remember, but don't worry, I'm not going to stop you. You're not? No. I think you should give Travis exactly what he deserves. Jessica studied his face, confused by his tone. Dean, what's really going on here? Nothing's going on. I'm being supportive, just like you asked. They returned to the patio with chocolate cake and coffee. Travis had moved his chair closer to Jessica's, his hand resting possessively on her back. Everything okay? He asked. Perfect, Dean replied. Jessica and I were just discussing the investment timeline. And she'll have an answer for you by Wednesday. Travis looked to Jessica for confirmation. She nodded reluctantly. Wednesday works, Travis said. I appreciate you both being so open-minded about this situation. We believe in supporting each other's dreams, Dean said. Don't we, honey? Yes, Jessica said quietly. We do. As Travis prepared to leave, he shook Dean's hand again. Thanks for dinner and for being so understanding about everything. Understanding is important in relationships, Dean replied. So is trust. Absolutely. Of course, trust has to be earned and maintained. Travis's smile faltered slightly. Right. After Travis left, Tiffany hugged her parents goodnight. I like him, she announced. He makes Mom happy. That's what matters, Dean agreed. Once Tiffany was gone, Jessica turned to Dean with a mixture of gratitude and confusion. Thank you for being so gracious tonight. You're my wife. He's important to you, so I'm making an effort. I know this can't be easy. Dean pulled her close, kissing her forehead with what looked like genuine affection. Nothing worthwhile is easy. That night, after Jessica fell asleep, Dean reviewed the evening's hidden camera footage. Travis had used the bathroom twice, both times making hushed phone calls. "It's going perfectly," he'd whispered during the first call. "She'll have the money by Wednesday. Then we implement phase 2. "And the husband?" asked a voice Dean didn't recognize. "He's either the most understanding guy in the world, or he's playing some angle I can't see. Either way, he's not stopping us." "What about the daughter?" "Useful idiot. She thinks she's helping her mom find happiness. And after we get the 20, we string her along for another month, get access to more accounts, then disappear. She'll be so embarrassed she won't even report it." Dean saved the recording and went to bed. Tomorrow would begin the final phase of his operation. Monday morning, Dean called Paul Morrison with an update. "I have recordings of them planning to defraud me out of at least $20,000, potentially more. Criminal fraud. We can have him arrested." "Not yet. I want to let them commit the crime first. Attempted fraud is a misdemeanor. Completed fraud is a felony." "Dean, that's risky. What if they actually steal the money?" "They won't get the chance to keep it." Next, Dean called his bank and set up a controlled sting. They would allow the $20,000 transfer to Travis's account, then immediately freeze the funds pending investigation. Travis would have access to the money for exactly 12 hours, long enough to feel safe, not long enough to disappear. Then Dean called Benji. "It's time. What do you need?" "Muscle and documentation. Bring your camera." They met at the job site where Travis was supposed to be working. Instead, his truck was parked at a strip mall across town. "There," Dean pointed to Travis loading company supplies into a civilian pickup truck. "Get everything." Benji filmed as Travis sold Dean's materials to a contractor Dean didn't recognize. The transaction took 15 minutes and involved $2,000 worth of stolen goods. "That's felony theft," Benji said, lowering his camera. "That's just the appetizer." They followed Travis to his apartment, where he met with 2 men Dean didn't recognize. The conversation was brief, but clearly involved planning something bigger than petty theft. "Who are those guys?" Benji asked. "I'm about to find out." Dean called Nancy Miller. "It's Mr. Carter. I need you to do something for me." "What?" "Ask Tiffany about Travis's friends. Specifically, ask if he's mentioned anyone named Mike or Johnny." "Why?" "Just trust me." An hour later, Nancy called back. "Tiffany says Travis mentioned working with his cousin Mike and a guy named Johnny from his last job. She thinks they're going to be part of his new business." Dean hung up and called his private investigator. "I need background checks on Mike Blake and anyone named Johnny connected to Travis Blake. Give me 2 hours." By evening, Dean had a complete picture. Mike Blake was Travis's cousin with a history of check fraud and identity theft. Johnny Martinez was a former cellmate with expertise in financial scams. They weren't planning to start a legitimate business. They were planning to run a long-term con on Jessica, using her to access Dean's assets. Dean sat in his truck outside Travis's apartment, watching the 3 men through the window, and felt something cold settle in his chest. They weren't just criminals. They were predators who had targeted his family specifically because they saw weakness. His phone buzzed with a text from Jessica. "Had lunch with Travis today. Everything's set for Wednesday. Thank you for being so supportive." Dean typed back, "I want you to be happy. That's all I've ever wanted." He meant it. He'd spent 23 years trying to make Jessica happy. Now he was going to make himself happy instead. Tuesday passed in careful preparation. Dean moved the remainder of his liquid assets into protected accounts, updated his will to remove Jessica and Tiffany as beneficiaries, and met with his lawyer one final time. "You're sure about this course of action?" Paul asked. "They made their choice. Now I'm making mine. The evidence is solid. We could have all 3 of them arrested today. Justice isn't just about punishment. It's about consequences matching actions. Dean, what you're planning goes beyond legal consequences. What I'm planning is perfect symmetry. They wanted to destroy my life for money. I'm going to destroy their lives, period." Paul leaned back in his chair. "Be careful. Revenge has a way of consuming people." "I'm not consumed. I'm focused." That evening, Jessica was practically vibrating with excitement. "Tomorrow changes everything," she said over dinner. "Yes, it does. I've never done anything this bold before. Investing in Travis's business, being a real partner in something." "It's brave," Dean agreed. "Taking risks, trusting someone new. Are you okay with this? Really?" Dean reached across the table and took her hand. "Jessica, I want you to have everything you deserve. Tomorrow you will." She squeezed his fingers. "I love you. Even with everything that's changed between us, I love you. I know you do. In your own way." That night, Dean didn't sleep. He sat in his workshop cleaning his tools and thinking about the man he used to be. the one who believed in fairness, second chances, and the basic goodness of people he loved. That man was gone. Tomorrow would bury him completely. Wednesday morning dawned gray and cold. Dean kissed Jessica goodbye and drove to his office, where Benji was waiting with surveillance equipment and a grim expression. "You ready for this?" "I've been ready since I heard my daughter coaching my wife on adultery." They positioned themselves across from the bank where Jessica would wire the money to Travis's account. At 10:17 a.m., Jessica's car pulled into the parking lot. "Here we go," Dean said. Through high-powered binoculars, they watched Jessica enter the bank with paperwork and identification. 30 minutes later, she emerged looking satisfied and texted someone on her phone. Dean's burner phone immediately buzzed with a message from Travis. "Transfer complete. You're amazing. Can't wait to celebrate tonight." Jessica texted back, "This is so exciting. I feel like a real businesswoman." Travis replied, "You are a businesswoman now, my partner in every way." Dean forwarded the messages to his lawyer, then called the bank. "The transfer's been completed. Initiate the freeze protocol." "Are you sure about this, Mr. Carter? Once we flag the account, there's no going back." "Do it." At 11:30 a.m., Travis's account was frozen by the bank's fraud department. The $20,000 Jessica had wired was locked pending investigation. At 11:45 a.m., Travis called Jessica in a panic. Dean listened to the call through Jessica's car microphone. "Baby, there's a problem with the bank. They froze my account." "What? Why?" "They're claiming suspicious activity. This is insane." "What does that mean for the business?" "I don't know. I need to talk to someone there. Figure out what's going on." "Should I come with you?" "No, let me handle this first. I'll call you later." Jessica drove home confused and worried. Travis, meanwhile, was making increasingly frantic calls to his cousin and Johnny Martinez. Dean had Benji follow Travis while he went home to comfort his wife. "The bank froze Travis's account," Jessica told him immediately. "They're claiming fraud." "That's terrible." "Did he give you any explanation?" "He's trying to sort it out now." "Dean, what if I lose the money?" "We'll figure it out. These things usually resolve themselves." "What if they don't?" Dean pulled her into his arms. "Then we'll deal with whatever comes next, together." Jessica cried against his chest while Dean stared over her head at the security monitor showing Travis's truck speeding away from the bank. By evening, the situation had escalated beyond Travis's control. The bank's investigation had uncovered his history of financial fraud. Johnny Martinez had been arrested on an outstanding warrant. Mike Blake had disappeared entirely. Travis showed up at Dean's house at 7 p.m., desperate and dangerous. Jessica answered the door, and Dean watched from the kitchen as Travis grabbed her arms. "We need to talk," Travis said, his voice tight with panic. "What's wrong?" "Everything's wrong. The bank, the cops, everything's falling apart." "Slow down. Tell me what happened." "Someone set us up. Someone knew about the business plan and sabotaged it." Jessica looked confused. "Who would do that?" Travis glanced toward the kitchen where Dean was pretending to read the newspaper. "Where's your husband?" "Right here," Dean called, walking into the living room. "Evening, Travis. Jessica told me about your banking troubles." Travis studied Dean's face suspiciously. "Did you know this would happen?" "Know what would happen?" "The freeze, the investigation." Dean shrugged. "Banks investigate large transfers sometimes, especially to new accounts with limited history." "This wasn't random. Someone reported fraud." "Who would do that?" Travis stepped closer to Dean, his fists clenched. "You tell me." Jessica moved between them. "Stop it. Travis, you're scaring me. Your husband's been playing games since Sunday. All those questions about business plans and exit strategies." "He was just being cautious," Jessica said. But doubt was creeping into her voice. Travis laughed bitterly. "Cautious? He's been 3 steps ahead this whole time." Dean looked at Travis with calm curiosity. 3 steps ahead of what? Don't play innocent. You know exactly what this is about. I know my wife invested in your business, and now there's a banking problem. That's unfortunate, but hardly my fault." Travis pulled out his phone and played a recording. Dean's voice came through clearly. "Investment capital is important. You need enough runway to survive the first year. Then, always think about the ending when you start something new, whether it's a business or a relationship." "You were warning me," Travis said, "telling me you knew what was coming." Jessica stared at Dean. "Is that true?" Dean met her eyes steadily. "I was giving business advice to someone asking for investment capital. Standard due diligence." "Bees," Travis snarled. You set this whole thing up. Set what up? The bank freeze, the investigation, all of it. Dean smiled coldly. Travis, you're giving me too much credit. I'm just a contractor. I don't have the power to manipulate banks and law enforcement. Then how did they know to investigate my account? Maybe because you have a history of financial fraud. Maybe because you've been stealing from my company for months. Maybe because you're running a con with your cousin and a convicted felon. Travis went white. How do you know about Mike and Johnny? Because I'm not stupid? Jessica looked back and forth between them. What's he talking about? Who are Mike and Johnny? Tell her, Travis. Tell her about your real business plan. Travis grabbed Jessica's arm. We need to leave. Now. I'm not going anywhere until someone explains what's happening. Dean walked to his entertainment center and pulled out a tablet. Would you like to see what's been happening, Jessica? The real story? Dean, don't, Travis warned. Dean pressed play. The tablet screen showed surveillance footage of Travis and Jessica in bed, followed by audio of Travis's phone calls about draining the old man dry. Jessica watched in horror as Travis's true intentions were revealed in his own words. You were going to rob us, she whispered. Baby, it's not what it sounds like. You called me a perfect mark. I was just talking tough for Mike and Johnny. I really care about you. Dean played another recording. Travis laughing about Jessica being too old and desperate to think straight. Jessica slapped Travis across the face with a crack like a thunderclap. Get out of my house. Jessica, listen to me. Get out! Travis looked between Jessica and Dean, calculating his options. Dean saw the moment Travis decided to fight instead of flee. You think you're so smart, Travis said to Dean, but you made one mistake. What's that? You let me get close enough to hurt you. Travis swung a wild haymaker at Dean's head. Dean slipped the punch easily, muscle memory taking over, and countered with a straight right that caught Travis on the jaw. Travis stumbled backward into the coffee table, scattering magazines and knocking over Jessica's wine glass. Stop it! Jessica screamed. Travis charged again, tackling Dean around the waist and driving him into the wall. They crashed into a framed photo of Dean and Jessica's wedding, glass shattering on the hardwood floor. Dean broke Travis's grip with an uppercut to the solar plexus, then threw a left hook that sent Travis spinning toward the kitchen. I'm calling the police! Jessica shouted, reaching for her phone. Travis grabbed a kitchen knife from the counter and turned to face Dean. Put the knife down, Dean said calmly. You destroyed everything, my business, my life, everything. You destroyed your own life when you decided to steal from me. I wasn't stealing. I was taking what I earned. By sleeping with my wife? Travis grinned wildly. By being better than you, younger, stronger, better in bed. She told me things about you, Dean, about how boring you are, how small you are, how she's been faking it for years. Dean's expression didn't change. Is that so? She said you're pathetic, a tired old man who can't satisfy a woman like her. Dean glanced at Jessica, who was staring at Travis with disgust. I never said any of those things, she whispered. Sure you did. After we made love, you'd complain about how inadequate your husband was? That's not true. Travis was breathing hard, the knife shaking in his hand. You're both lying now, trying to make me look crazy. Travis, Dean said quietly, put the knife down and walk away. This doesn't have to end badly for you. It already ended badly. You made sure of that. You made sure of that when you chose to be a predator instead of a man. Travis lunged with the knife. Dean stepped aside and grabbed Travis's wrist, twisting until Travis dropped the tool. Then Dean drove his knee into Travis's ribs, doubling him over. You're done, Dean said, pushing Travis toward the front door. Travis stumbled outside onto the porch, holding his side and gasping for air. This isn't over, he wheezed. Yes, it is. Dean closed the door and locked it, leaving Travis outside in the cold. Through the window, they watched him limp to his truck and drive away. Jessica was shaking. How long have you known? Since the day I heard you and Tiffany talking about trying new sizes? You've been planning this the whole time. I've been protecting myself the whole time. By humiliating me. Dean looked at his wife of 23 years, seeing her clearly for the first time in months. You humiliated yourself, Jessica. I just documented it. The next morning brought consequences. Travis was arrested at his apartment on charges of theft, fraud, and attack. Mike Blake was picked up trying to cross state lines. Johnny Martinez pled guilty to his role in the conspiracy in exchange for a reduced sentence. Jessica moved into the guest bedroom and hired her own lawyer. Tiffany called, crying, after Nancy finally told her the truth about Travis's intentions. Daddy? I'm so sorry. I thought I was helping Mom be happy. You were helping her make choices, Dean replied. Adults are responsible for their choices. Are you going to divorce Mom? I don't know yet. Do you hate me? Dean closed his eyes. Despite everything, Tiffany was still his daughter. Still the little girl who used to fall asleep on his chest while he read her bedtime stories. I don't hate you, but I don't trust you anymore. Can we fix that? I don't know. The divorce proceedings began the following week. Jessica's lawyer argued for spousal support and half of all marital assets. Dean's lawyer presented evidence of adultery, conspiracy to commit fraud, and attempted theft. The judge was not sympathetic to Jessica's position. Mrs. Carter, you engaged in an extramarital affair with the specific intent of defrauding your husband. The court finds that your conduct was so egregious as to bar any claim to spousal support. Jessica received 20% of their liquid assets, enough to start over, but nowhere near enough to maintain her previous lifestyle. The house, the business, and all retirement accounts remained with Dean. 6 months later, Dean stood in his empty house, packing the last of his belongings. He'd sold the property to a young couple with children who would fill it with laughter instead of lies. Benji helped him load boxes into a moving truck. Where to now? Montana. Bought a cabin near Glacier National Park. Starting over at 50. Starting over at every age is better than staying in the wrong place. Dean's phone rang. It was Tiffany. Dad, I graduate next month. Will you come? Dean looked around the house where he'd raised her, where she'd taken her first steps and spoken her first words, where she'd eventually helped destroy his marriage. I'll be there. Really? You're still my daughter, Tiffany. That doesn't change. I love you, Dad. I'm sorry for everything. I love you too. But love isn't enough anymore. Trust has to be earned back. I'll earn it, however long it takes. After hanging up, Dean walked through the empty rooms one last time. In the master bedroom, he found Jessica's wedding ring on the nightstand, the one she'd thrown at him during their final argument. He picked it up and studied the inscription, forever and always. Dean dropped the ring in his pocket, not as a keepsake, but as a reminder. Some promises are made to be broken by people who never understood their value in the first place. His phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. This is Linda, Jessica's sister. I heard about the divorce. If you ever want to talk, I'm here. Dean smiled and deleted the message. He was done talking to anyone connected to his old life. The moving truck pulled away from the house at sunset. Dean followed in his pickup, watching his former home disappear in the rearview mirror. At the state line, he stopped at a rest area and walked to a scenic overlook. The wedding ring caught the last rays of sunlight as he threw it into the river below. 23 years of marriage. 22 years of raising someone else's child as his own. 60-hour work weeks building a business to support a family that ultimately betrayed him for the promise of something bigger and more exciting. Dean Carter had been a faithful husband, a loving father, and an honest businessman. Those qualities had made him a target instead of earning him respect. But Dean Carter was dead now, buried under the weight of other people's choices. The man walking back to his truck was someone new, someone who understood that loyalty is a currency that should only be spent on people who value it. His phone rang one last time. The caller ID showed Jessica. Dean let it go to voicemail, then deleted the message without listening to it. The road to Montana stretched out ahead of him, empty and full of possibilities. For the first time in months, Dean Carter smiled and meant it. Behind him, the sun set on everything he used to be.